I was at the International Disaster Conference Expo in January, and the keynote speaker, when he opened it up, he opened his, now keep in mind, this is an expo for emergency management professionals, worldwide. I mean, we had speakers there from Australia and Canada. One of my favorite talks was from a baroness in England. Thank you, my mind's slipping. I'm exhausted, y'all. I've had like 6 hours sleep in 3 days. But she was there talking about cyber terrorism and cyber attacks and all that, and it was great. And even now, it really kind of comes back to my memory because we've actually discovered now that the 3 last major hacking and cyber attacks in the United States came from a building that is owned by the Chinese government in China. So we've actually proven that some of these attacks came from China. But anyhow, the keynote speaker started this meeting addressing emergency management professionals worldwide by saying, before we begin 3 days of conferences and discussions and everything, can we all just agree as emergency management professionals that in a large-scale catastrophic natural disaster, we are unequipped to handle the majority of the general population? And not only did I not see anybody disagreeing, but to make it worse, about 1/3 of the people are sitting there shaking their heads yes. These are who we have been taught to put our trust in. We are 2 generations removed from self-reliance. And in 2 generations, we've gone from being self-reliant to extremely dependent. And we're putting our faith and our dependence in an organization that has proven not only can they not help us, they really don't want to. And they shouldn't have to. Shouldn't have to. So.
Question and answers?
Sure.
Hey, Bob, talk about the website, the fact that this information is going to become widely known.
Yeah, so the whole thing with the POPs and the HPCs and the HVPs and the interconnection, all that kind of good stuff, all that information was supposed to be made public on April 22nd of this year on a website, becauseyounneedtoknow.com. Hold on, I'm getting there. Instead.com apparently was taken because they launched it on April 24th on becauseyounneedtoknow.org. So as of yesterday, there was a little thing up on that website, something about, you know, they're still under construction. They apologize for the delays, yada, yada. It'll be up on May 10th. The reason that's so important is this. Who here owns a firearm? All right, cool. So who here in the last, well, since the 3rd week of December has tried to go to a gun show or a gun store and buy guns or ammo? And what have we seen? There is none, and what we do find is 2 and 3 and 4 times the price of what it was back in December. I kind of chuckle about that because my wife back in December, I take every opportunity I can to increase my sales, right? In December, I had several thousand rounds of 5.56 ammo in my basement, and I took it to a gun show and was selling $850 to $1,000 for 1,000 rounds, and my wife got a little upset because I was getting rid of all of our access, right? But I only paid $350 for it, and I was $200 cheaper than anybody else in the show, so I literally sold it all in like 8 minutes. But the reason I kind of point that out is something happened that caused a frenzy in the firearm industry. And man's reaction to that situation brought about the shortages that we all dealt with. I've been telling people since January, the government does not have to impose any restrictions on firearms and ammo. We did it to ourselves. We created the shortage. And as long as the shortage exists, the high prices will exist and the shortage will continue. Because truth is, the ammo shortage ended about 4 or 5 weeks ago. The ammo shortage was brought about because so much ammo was bought at one time they couldn't keep up with the primers. Now there's an abundance of primers because all the factories in China went into major production to get us all these primers, right? So now ammo's there. The problem is we don't know it's there because every time we see ammo, it's a box or two and we buy what there is. So the next person comes and doesn't see any ammo. The average Walmart's getting between 1,000 and 1,500 rounds of 5.56 ammo every week. But yet you walk into Walmart, there's no 5.56, right? We've kind of done it to ourselves. The point of, yeah, the point of all that is this. As preppers, who has told at least 5 people since they started prepping that there's a need to get prepared and they've ridiculed them? Okay. So when you go online to becauseyounneedtoknow.org, right, and you see the proof of what's coming, and you see the proof of what's taken place, and you see the statements from government officials from all over the world verifying this information, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to send that link to everybody that ever ridiculed you, right? Me, I'm going to send it with a, haha, told you so, now what are you going to do? That website, by the end of June, is going to go viral. And the problem with that is this. When that website goes viral, it's going to create a shortage in the industry. So where everybody here is fortunate is this. If there's something you've been looking for, something you've been putting off getting for your preps, now's the time to do it. Because a month and a half, 2 months from now, everything's going to be scarce and short. Everything. So there's a number of reasons why you need to get prepared. One, or complete your preparations, I should say. One, because we are entering the darkest time that this country, that the world has seen in 3,646 years. Two, next year we will enter the darkest time that the world has seen in 5,460 some odd years. And if all of that is wrong, right? What if it's all wrong? It becomes irrelevant because in 2 months' time, the prepper industry, all of the stuff that we all want to have, the solar power, the solar generators, the solar water purifiers, the filters, the long shelf life food, the get home bags, the bug out bags, the solar tents, all that kind of good stuff, all the stuff that we want is going to become very scarce and be in limited supply and drastically high prices. So that's why you want to step up your preps. If they're wrong, everything that you've wanted to buy and you've put off buying is going to go up in major price, or everything you've wanted to build and have put off building, you're not going to be able to get the raw materials for. And if they're right, you're going to need all of that stuff. But I can tell you this, since 1982, anybody want to venture the percentage that they've been wrong since 1982? They have been 100% accurate since 1982. Now, it's easy for us to look back and say, well, sure, hindsight's 20/20, right? But yet on February 8th, I sent Jerry Greer a text and said, just a heads up, tomorrow's been elevated from an HPC 4 to an HPC 7 with Interconnect 4, I think it was. Heads up. And February 9th was one of the most catastrophic days for natural events worldwide that we have seen in decades. So, you know, we all focus on the one major event, the earthquake that created the tsunami that knocked out the power plant, and now we got Fukushima. We all focus on those. But when you stop and realize that the amount of people that died that day is less than what died globally as a result of the natural disasters on February 9th, it kind of puts a different perspective into it. So